If you paid a visit to your local grocery store or visited a farmer's market like this one, you may notice that the vegetables and fruit, like these peaches, are a little small this year. When Donna Benson got online to purchase this Royals t-shirt for her daughter, she thought she was purchasing it from an authentic online shop. These crates contain the memorial of Flight 800 that went down on July 17, 1996. Relatives say Friday afternoon appeared to be a normal day here in Cameron, Missouri, until Angela Bocart discovered her kids didn't get off the school bus because they didn't go to school. The University of Kansas is up against a second lawsuit from another student and former member of the women's row team who says she was raped in August inside campus housing.
KU not only didn't help her, but affirmatively made it harder for her to be a student there after she made a report.
Attorney Dan Curry says the University of Kansas did not conduct a speedy investigation and failed to issue a no-contact order against the football player who raped two of his clients.
This is a young man that had two separate independent reports of assaults that occurred in very similar circumstances in the same residence hall. And that wasn't enough for KU to say, okay, let's suspend this gentleman until we find out what really happened.
In a statement from Jane Doe 7, she says, quote, "I reported my assault and KU turned my experience into a living nightmare. Meanwhile, KU put a Jayhawk on my assailant's back and told him to play football for the university."
He's a serial rapist. I think he should have been taken off campus immediately.
Last month, James Tackett came forward with a statement from his daughter Daisy Tackett, who claims she was raped by the same football player who assaulted Jane Doe 7. The University of Kansas says when the university receives a report of sexual assault, we quickly take action to support the person who came forward and work to investigate and resolve the matter. Any suggestion otherwise is simply false. Attorney Curry says the football player who's accused of raping his client was eventually expelled from the university. Well, Susan, according to this police report, Erica Pulliam is being investigated for not providing her son with immediate medical care. A social worker at Children's Mercy Hospital called police saying a little boy was rushed to the hospital in August with a brain hemorrhage because he didn't receive care to treat his asthma.
I did not kill my son.
Pulliam wants people to know when she picked up her 8-year-old son, Tyler Lane, from school in August, he was fine. Pulliam says she didn't think his breathing was labored, so she didn't take him to the hospital.
He was acting like nothing wrong with him. He jumped from around the corner playing with me and his sister.
Pulliam's boyfriend, Brian Gardner, agrees, saying Lane appeared to be okay when he came home. But Gardner says later that evening, a third grader started to sweat and complained about being hot.
I told him to just lay down and breathe, try to hold his arms up and breathe a little bit, you know. I mean, he did it. I mean, and he was all right, you know. And then probably about an hour or so later, you know, he started feeling bad again.
Gardner says the family decided to call 911.
He was already out. You know, his body, his eyes just rolled up in his head, and then his body just went limp.
Vicki Pulliam says while her grandson appeared to act normal, she says he was struggling to breathe, and she thought he needed to go to the hospital.
I believe we would have took him to the hospital, he would have lived.
Despite what this police report suggests, Erica Pulliam says she loved her son and did what she thought was appropriate.
I never hurt my son.
Pulliam says she gave her son an inhaler as she's done in the past and had no idea the asthma attack he suffered in August would be fatal. About 75 women took a self-defense course this morning, and Bob Thurman from Counterattactics says there are some simple things you can do to protect yourself. Show us.
Someone assaults you from behind, the first thing is shove them back, man. Let them know you mean business. Back them off. If they start to read your space bubble, do what I call palm heel strike the face. Palm heel strike that guy right in the face. Mark him up, scratch him. Twist those fingers and index fingers, shish kebab his eyeballs. If left no other option, reach out and grab this person. Slam those knees in like you want to tear this guy a new face.
What if you're attacked from behind?
The thing with the rear attack things, it's all about attitude, man. This guy attacked from behind, he wanted to hurt you. 98% of rear attacks are sex-oriented. Reach out, attack the groin, hand bracers, Attack the head with elbow strikes. Do whatever you can to create the separation and escape with your life.
Thank you so much. Now, Thurman says self-defense classes are about personal safety. And if you have an opportunity to take a class, it could be the difference between saving your life and being severely injured.
Only two things could go down. Either I'd be alive or I'd get dead.
21-year-old Amber Cordero says a late-night ride in Topeka with a friend a week ago could have been the last day of her life. She says two men flagged her down along with her friend Carl Boyd at an intersection in Topeka. Men Boyd thought he knew.
Waved him down and asked for a ride for gas money, so that's what we did.
Cordero says that was around 9:45 Sunday, September 29th, and within minutes of picking the two men up, she and Boyd were forced into the trunk of his car at gunpoint.
Get in there and don't talk and don't look at me or you face consequences.
About 2 hours later, Cordero says they were speeding down I-70 toward Kansas City, being chased by police because the carjackers blew through a toll booth without paying. Cordero says the car crashed on I-70 near exit 415B in Kansas City, Kansas.
By the time the car stopped, we heard both of them and everything, and Carl told me not to say anything in case it was still them outside. And then I guess Carl heard the radio from the policeman, and then he hit the trunk.
Cordero says she's thankful to be alive and glad the carjackers didn't pay the toll. If they did, she believes she and her friend would have been killed. Barbecue is a Kansas City tradition, but it's something that isn't enjoyed by people who eat kosher unless they prepare it themselves. All of the meat for this kosher barbecue competition is slaughtered according to Jewish tradition, and you won't find pork ribs on any of the smokers either.
Just the smell in the air itself, and knowing that it's not just a smell, you can actually taste that. That is golden.
Lawrence Langley from Kansas City thinks he has what it takes to win this red and gold beauty.
I used real wood, not charcoal.
This Jersey boy thinks he has the magic formula to meat falling off the bone barbecue, and he appears to be a good sport and tried his competitor's smoked chicken.
Orange. Congratulations on having the second best chicken in the tournament.
Barbecuing is new to Michael Dollywall from Chicago, who admits before preparing for this competition his barbecue technique could not be considered barbecue by KC standards.
When we talk about barbecuing, it's usually direct heat, high heat grilling. Here it's low and slow and smoking. So this was a whole undertaking to actually learn how to do this method of cooking to come compete here. Organizers are hoping this kosher barbecue will become a new Kansas City tradition. These crates contain the memorial of Flight 800 that went down on July 17, 1996, killing 230 people. The 4-foot-tall memorial has 3 glass pieces. One shows the flight taking off, another shows the flight in God's hands, and the third shows the airplane in the clouds. Hanging in the clouds is how a lot of former TWA employees feel about what was determined to be the cause of the crash.
I believe, because there were maneuvers going on along the shoreline there, that it was an accident, but a missile hit that plane and took it out.
Karen Martin, a former TWA flight attendant, says she feels so strongly about this, she's almost wearing her heart on her sleeves with this T-shirt depicting what she believes occurred. However, the National Transportation Safety Board reports the cause of the accident was an explosion of flammable vapors in a fuel tank. Martin, who lost her dear friend, flight attendant Maureen Lockhart, on that flight, says she remembers seeing television news reports that showed something hitting the plane.
I watched that missile come up from the lower right screen, hit the plane, and the plane explode. Over and over and over and over.
Like Martin, former TWA pilot Bill Kirshner, who says he flew the plane 4 days before it crashed, believe it was not a mechanical error that took the plane down.
Well, I got to suspect that with all the eyewitnesses that saw a streak going to the airplane, not from it, that it was a shoulder-fired missile of some sort, and I just can't come up with any other solution.
Whether you believe the former employees' theories or the NTSB's conclusion of the crash, museum volunteers hope the memorial of the ill-fated flight attracts people to this new permanent exhibit. On Tuesday, the TWA Museum will mark the 16th anniversary of this deadly flight with a ceremony that will include a moment of silence to coincide with the time this flight disappeared from radar. The Royals charity is giving 2 boys a day they'll never forget. It's a way, we're told, that will help them keep their minds off missing their dads. 8-year-old Daniel Shepard and 10-year-old Zach Shaver haven't seen their dads in a couple of months because they're in the military and stationed in Afghanistan. But the next time they get a chance to talk with their dads, they'll have quite a story to tell. Aside from hanging out in the Royals dugout, these boys, both from Fort Riley, got their hands dirty Sunday afternoon, and they loved every bit of it.
I watered the field and put in a base.
Shepard and Shaver are part of the Royals Troopers. It's a program started by Trevor Vance, the director of the Royals grounds crew, to invite kids whose parents are deployed to help prep the field before a home game.
We started feeling sorry for ourselves on a 6-game or 10-game homestand that, we're not having any time with our family. But in the big picture, these kids they're the ones that go 6 months, a year without seeing their parents as they're deployed all over the world.
Vance says this is the 3rd year the Royals has invited kids to have a ball helping out on the field.
This is pretty awesome. This is really, really cool. I think my dad would be really excited right now and pretty proud of me.
How about Mom?
Mom, she's psyched. She's doing everything she can right now to save this memory.
If you know a child whose mom or dad is deployed and you'd like them to become a Royals trooper, go to our website at fox4kc.com. We'll have a link to the Royals charity for more information. If you paid a visit to your local grocery store or visited a farmer's market like this one, you may notice that the vegetables and fruit, like these peaches, are a little small this year. George Slusher says farming is in his blood, but these days Mother Nature has his blood boiling because he's not producing produce like he used to because of the heat and lack of rain.
I lost a green bean crop, and I had a good one, big one, and I lost the blackberries. And the tomatoes have kind of been hurt, but I'm watering and my plants are fair.
Slusher, like many farmers, are trying to cut their losses by not planting a fall garden.
You plant your fall gardens, typically your turnips, rain or shine, 25th day of July, rain or shine. Then you pick everything, the 25th of October, drunk or sober.
Slusher is not alone in the dry crop department. Hal Sweeney of Platte County says he's been farming for 42 years, and this is as dry as it's been for a long time. In fact, he says these soybean leaves are dry and dying.
Usually on a plant, there will be many pods at each node, each cluster, all the way up and down the plant. And the other thing is these plants should certainly be waist high instead of struggling to be knee high.
Sweeney says this corn crop is also struggling.
Kernels a lot of times will be as big as your fingernail, or at least certainly as big as your little fingernail, and maybe even bigger. And this plant has stopped growing, so these are going to shrink as they dry out. So this corn's going to be even smaller than it is now when you harvest it.
After checking out the field, Sweeney made a visit to check in on his livestock. With no end in sight from the heat, the only thing farmers can do for their livestock and their crops is pray for rain, and a lot of it. We're at Sweet Art Candy in Grandview, Missouri, where a group of Facebook followers are part of a mob to give a local business owner a financial boost. A Lisa Vance store was mobbed Saturday morning with people opening their wallets. The goal of the cash mob is to give locally owned mom and pop shops some exposure, a new influx of customers, and cash to help support their businesses. When most people think about getting mobbed, it's a bad thing.
Right.
But today?
It was great. To have everybody just all of a sudden come in and shop, I was just like, wow.
Oh my gosh, I love doing this. This is so much fun. We get to meet so many unique individuals, and we hear about businesses that we've never heard of before.
This is the 30th store mob since the Kansas City metro area cash mob began on Facebook last year. Organizers say people suggest a locally owned small business to mob, then Facebook fans vote on a winner. Fire investigators say it could take weeks to determine how this fire started and what killed Robert Bocart and his 2 young kids. Organizers are hoping this kosher barbecue will become a new Kansas City tradition. When Mother Nature dumped more than 10 inches of snow on the metro, for the owners of Snow Creek Ski Resort, it was almost like raining green.